Okay, this is the Wyckoff Township Committee, 8 p.m. public meeting of August 20th, 2019.
I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Wyckoff Township Committee to order. And I'd like to ask everybody to stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask you to remain standing. Rabbi, you want to come forward?
Yes.
Rabbi Benny, right? Thank you again for coming.
Of course, my pleasure. Master of the universe, God of our ancestors, we ask for your blessing in this town, in its leaders, and in its meeting. May our leaders have wisdom and forbearance. May they rule in a way that brings more joy and happiness into our town. May the work of their hands and of each of us, your humble servants, be a way to foster our connections, strengthen our community, and improve our world. And together we say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please be seated, I guess. I'm used to telling people to sit.
Thank
Turn to page 12.
Okay, can I have a motion to open the meeting to public comment, 5 minutes per speaker, on any governmental issue?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And before we do that, Joyce, did you note those present?
I did. And,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yes, Michael Paycheck, 553 Helena Avenue. I just want to make a comment that I complained about, a couple months ago, that the sound system was terrible. I couldn't hear what you were saying in the back. Well, now it's very good. I can hear everything. Thank you. I love it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mychek. Anybody else?
Seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to read the
Okay, Joyce, can
open
you read that
statement.
since we're jumping all around? We're
Sure.
being consistent in the business meeting as well.
It's fine. This regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff is now in session. In accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meeting Act, I wish to advise that notice of the meeting has been posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall. Copies have been filed with the town clerk, and copies were sent to the Ridgewood News, Record, and North Jersey Herald and News. All newspapers with general circulation throughout the Township of Wyckoff. At least 48 hours prior to the meeting, the agenda was posted, filed, and mailed to the papers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now we're on number 7. Can I have a motion for the approval of the August 6, 2019 Township Committee work session and regular business meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes. We're going to go to the consent agenda, but before Joyce, I ask you to read it. I'm going to ask Mr. Shanley if he'd be kind enough to read a resolution 19-271 on pediatric cancer awareness.
Sure, Mayor. It's referenced as Declare September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas, although rare, childhood cancer is a leading cause of death from disease in American children under the age of 19 and the second leading cause of death after accidents. And whereas very little is known about the causes of childhood cancers, but a small percent are known to be hereditary conditions or exposure to diagnostic or therapeutic radiation. And whereas the American Cancer Society estimates 11,060 new cases of childhood cancer and adolescent cancer are to be diagnosed in 2019, an increase from 10,590 projected in 2018. However, because of major treatment advances in recent decades, more than 80% of children with cancer now survive 5 years or more. And whereas the effects of childhood cancer therapy can have profound physical, emotional, and other consequences, and whereas many survivors and children battling the disease have difficulty readjusting in school and social settings, and many children experience anxiety, body image concerns, and are at risk for developing learning difficulties, and whereas there is a need to increase awareness, understanding, and compassion among youth for children battling cancer, And whereas the state of New Jersey already adopted resolution AJR 106 SJR 46, designated September of each year as Go Gold for Kids with Cancer Awareness Month. And whereas Rebecca Salmons, a fifth grade, she'll now be a sixth grader at Sycamac, she'll be at Eisenhower this year, in Wyckoff, beat cancer, remains in remission, and is active in bringing awareness to cancer, assisting other children with cancer, and raising money for cancer research and cancer patients. And whereas Wyckoff resident and child Peyton Sargenti courageously fought childhood cancer and is in remission. And whereas, unfortunately, Tommy Fitzpatrick, a brave and beloved 6-year-old local, lost his strong and courageous battle against brain cancer this year, and despite having 7 brain surgeries, managed with family to raise $50,000 for pediatric cancer research for the Children's Cancer Institute at Hackensack Medical Center with the hashtag Tommy Strong campaign through St. Elizabeth's Church in Wyckoff. And whereas Wyckoff is still missing Ben Landell and mourning his sad and untimely death. Ben was a beloved Wyckoff resident and former Ramapo High School student and soccer and track athlete who courageously battled an aggressive and rare form of childhood cancer, but spread hope and love to many in his short but memorable time he spent in Wyckoff. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, that the month of September 2019 is hereby designated as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and the Township Committee seeks to increase understanding and awareness among all, especially youth, about childhood cancer, and encourages its residents and all citizens to participate in activities that inspire youth to develop a better understanding of childhood cancers and build compassion for children battling cancer, and Go Gold for Cancer with Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you very much. So Joyce, could you read the consent agenda? That'll be included.
And I would just ask, I want to just make a motion to change Rebecca Salmons to a sixth grader at the middle school, Eisenhower Middle School. That was an error on my part. I didn't change it from last year.
No problem. Okay, consent agenda?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. All matters listed below are considered by the Township Committee to be routine in nature. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If any discussion is desired by the Township Committee, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Resolutions, adoption of the following. 19-264, authorized redemption of tax sale certificate for 361 Cornell Street. 265, payment of bills. 266, return of certain overpaid taxes, etc. 267, authorized road closure. 268, authorized volunteer fire department fireworks fundraiser. 269, audit general comments and recommendations. 270, refund landscape bond, 206 Franklin Avenue. 271, pediatric cancer awareness month. 272, refund landscape and driveway bonds for 17 Colonial Drive. 273, authorize Wyckoff K-8 shared service agreement. 274, refund maintenance bond for 351 Smith Place. Motions, authorize a request from St. Elizabeth School for St. Elizabeth School Annual Food Truck Festival scheduled for September 6th from 5 to 9 p.m. The event includes food trucks, food handlers permits, a band, entertainment on wheels, temporary signs, a tent, parking on the YMCA property, and police assistance for pedestrians crossing Wyckoff Avenue. 2 ordinances for introduction this evening. Number 1886, an ordinance authorizing the Township of Wyckoff to lease real property, together with improvements thereon, to the Wyckoff PTO Economy Shop, Inc., for public purposes for a term of 5.5 years pursuant to the local lands and buildings law, NJSA 12-1 at C. And 1887, an ordinance to amend Chapter 186 zoning of the Code of the Township of Wyckoff, Article 7, nonconforming uses and structures, Section 186-37, continuance of existing uses and structures. Could I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second?
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes.
Okay.
Joyce, Mr. Mayor, before the next action, which is the consideration of the ordinances, we should ask for the committee to approve the meeting minutes of August 6th.
Thanks, Bob.
Didn't we do
No, we
that?
I thought we did.
No.
We did both work and business,
Yeah.
yes.
Actually, I have one more ordinance that should be on the consent agenda. I
Okay.
didn't flip the page.
All right.
1885, an ordinance amending the land use ordinance of the Township of Wyckoff to amend Chapter 186 zoning to add one new inclusionary residential zone.
No, Joyce, that's for public hearing.
That's for
It's a
public
public
hearing.
hearing.
That's for adoption.
All right. Thank you. I apologize. All right, so we'll start with 1883.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have ordinance number 1883 entitled, "An Ordinance to Delete Chapter 119 Floodplain Management of the Code of the Township of Wyckoff and replace it with a new ordinance, Chapter 119, the Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance." For second reading by title only, copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, where public notices are customarily posted, and copies have been made available to members of the general public who have requested the same.
I move the ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes. This is the time and place for the public hearing on ordinance number 1883. And all persons who wish to be heard, please state your name and address before making your statement.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to place on the record that the Wyckoff Township Engineer recommends the adoption of this ordinance.
Seeing no one, I move that the public hearing on the ordinance be closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff that ordinance number 1883B and the same is hereby adopted. The municipal clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the notice of final passage of said ordinance in the official newspaper for the township as provided by law.
I move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have ordinance number 1884 entitled, "An Ordinance Amending the Code of the Township of Wyckoff, Chapter 157 Sewers, to reduce the time period a property owner has to connect to an available sanitary sewer and to require connection to a sanitary sewer when a real property transfer occurs prior to obtaining a certificate of continued occupancy for said property." For second reading by title only, a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, where public notices are customarily posted, and copies have been made available to members of the general public of the township who have requested the same.
I move the ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes. This is the time and place for the public hearing on ordinance 1884, and all persons who wish to be heard, please state your name and address before making your statement.
Mr. Mayor, the Wyckoff Township Engineer recommends the adoption of this ordinance as is.
I move that the public hearing on the ordinance be closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff that ordinance number 1884B and the same is hereby adopted. The municipal clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the notice of final passage of said ordinance in the official newspaper for the township as provided by law.
I move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have ordinance number 1885 entitled, "An Ordinance Amending the Land Use Ordinance of the Township of Wyckoff to amend Chapter 186 zoning to add one new inclusionary residential zone and one new overlay zone with respect to Lot 10.03 and a portion of Lot 11 in Block 320 consistent with and designed to effectuate the township's adopted 2018 third-round housing element and fair share plan." For second reading by title only, copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall where public notices are customarily posted, and copies have been made available to members of the general public who have requested the same.
I move the ordinance on second reading by title only.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes. This is time and place for the public hearing on ordinance 1885. And all persons who wish to be heard, please state your name and address before making your statement.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to place on the record that I have a copy of a memo from the Planning Board Secretary dated August 15th, that the Planning Board carefully considered this ordinance and recommends the Township Committee adopt the same.
Mayor, I see Mr. Liebman has joined us. I'm sure he's not here to talk about the sewer ordinance. I didn't know if you had a comment on this.
No comment at all. Thank you.
I move that the public hearing on the ordinance be closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff that ordinance number 1885B and the same is hereby adopted. The municipal clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish the notice of final passage of said ordinance in the official newspaper as provided by law.
I move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Shanley?
Yes.
Mayor Madigan?
Yes. Seeing nothing else, can I have a motion
Move
to
to adjourn.
adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
8:20, it's up there.
Good job, Mayor.
It's still rolling, okay?
I'm going to get that.